Are you thinking about the future and how to protect your loved ones? Creating a will is one of the most important steps you can take to ensure your wishes are carried out and your family is taken care of. That's why we're excited to tell you about a very special offer from Which Wills. Which Wills offers a straightforward, affordable and trusted service for writing your will. Whether you need a simple will or something more complex, our expert team is here to help you every step of the way. With Which Wills, you get access to legal professionals who can answer your questions on a one-to-one basis, customizable options to suit your specific needs and circumstances, and peace of mind knowing that your will is legally sound and your wishes will be respected. You can start the process from the comfort of your own home. Just visit whichwills.which.co.uk/premium-30 to get started. That's whichwills.which.co.uk/premium-30. And if you purchase before the 30th of September, you will get 30% off Which's premium will service. Don't put it off any longer. Secure your family's future today.
Hello and welcome to the Which Shorts podcast. I'm James Rowe. This is the podcast that brings you the very best from Which, with a weekly taster of some of the brilliant journalism you can expect from your suite of magazines. This week we're looking at hybrid cars. In the August edition of the Which magazine, Dino Buratti explained why, despite the fact that they could be cheap to run and good for the environment, it's still important to choose a hybrid car carefully. Here's his piece, adapted for the podcast, read by the presenter of the Which Get Answers podcast, Harry Kind.
If you're after zero tailpipe emissions and low running costs, an electric car, or EV, is the obvious choice. But they can be relatively expensive to buy and to charge, and you'll have to refuel more frequently than with most traditionally powered cars, which could be annoying on long journeys. So, is a hybrid car the next best thing? Well, they're certainly gaining popularity. Full hybrid and plug-in hybrid, or PHEV, cars accounted for 20% of the new car market last year, compared with 11% in 2020. Part of the attraction with full hybrids is that you don't have to plug them in to charge, and manufacturers are introducing more of them to reduce their overall CO2 emissions and avoid hefty fines. Meanwhile, thanks to their low tailpipe CO2 emissions, PHEVs attract lower benefit-in-kind tax compared with hybrid and pure combustion models, and are therefore particularly popular as company cars. Although they can't match the low running costs or emissions of an EV, hybrid cars typically have better environmental credentials than pure petrol or diesel. But it depends on the car and where you drive it. As I'll explain later, you could end up with a hybrid that's more polluting and less economical than you think. That's why our independent, in-depth lab tests are more important than ever. We go beyond manufacturer claims to reveal precisely how efficient and environmentally each car is. Before we go any further, let me explain some hybrid terminology. Firstly, we've got mild hybrids. These are petrol and diesel cars that are now fitted with small batteries and an electric motor. The motor assists the engine under acceleration and helps the car to pull away smoothly from a standstill, but it can't solely power the car. Then we've got full hybrids, also known as self-charging hybrids. These have larger batteries than mild hybrids. Full hybrids can be driven in electric-only mode, but usually only at slow speeds and for just a couple of miles. The batteries are topped up without being plugged in, for example by converting energy when braking. And finally, there's plug-in hybrid, or PHEVs. PHEVs have larger batteries and can run electric-only for at least 20 miles. Most can be charged only via AC chargers, such as a home charger, and not public rapid chargers. The bigger battery means fuel consumption can rocket if you don't keep it charged. So, are hybrids better for the environment? Well, if you're considering a hybrid for environmental reasons, you'll be pleased to hear that we've tested plenty of PHEV and full hybrid models that fare well in our emissions test. In fact, a few, such as the Mazda 2 hybrid, do better than some electric cars when it comes to well-to-wheel CO2 emissions. Those produced not only by the car, but also during the extraction, processing and distribution of the fuel. You can reduce CO2 and other greenhouse gas emissions with a PHEV if you keep it charged and use it primarily for short electric-only journeys. There are exceptions though, and our car emissions figures show that some hybrid cars are more polluting than you might expect. When measuring CO2 emissions, we look at the amount produced by the car as it's being driven, known as tank-to-wheel emissions, as well as well-to-wheel emissions. The good news is that for tank-to-wheel emissions, most hybrid and PHEV cars perform better than petrol or diesel models. While in general the same goes for well-to-wheel emissions, there are exceptions. For example, due to its relative inefficiency, the first BMW X5 PHEV we tested produced more well-to-wheel CO2 than all diesel X5s we've tested. The Mazda CX-60 plug-in hybrid also performs poorly, producing as much well-to-wheel CO2 as the diesel CX-60. But the most stark comparisons can be made with carbon monoxide emissions. Several hybrid and PHEV cars do very poorly in this respect. For example, we found that the Hyundai Tucson full hybrid emits 37 times as much carbon monoxide as the impressively clean mild hybrid Tucson we tested. We've also seen stark differences between some cars with the same hybrid system, but different sized engines. The Toyota Corolla Touring Sports Hybrid is a prime example. Additionally, some PHEVs we've tested emit significantly more soot, brake and tyre particles, known as particulate matter or PM emissions, than equivalent non-plug-in hybrid models. This is mostly because they're heavier on account of carrying an engine, batteries and an electric motor. In our tests, the Mercedes-Benz GLE diesel PHEV emits 40 times more particulate matter than the pure diesel GLE. Cars that do badly in our emissions tests can't be best buys, and you can see the emissions results for each model in the specification section of our online reviews. You can find a link to this in the podcast show notes. While hybrids can be an economical choice in most circumstances, this isn't always the case. We've crunched the fuel economy figures for every car we've tested, and you probably won't be surprised to hear that overall, hybrid and PHEV cars are more economical than mild hybrids and pure petrol and diesel cars. However, it really does depend on what and where you drive. Most full hybrids are very cheap to run in urban areas such as towns and cities. The stop-start nature of driving in these areas provides plenty of opportunities for the car to charge the battery while braking, known as regenerative braking, improving fuel economy as a result. And as long as your PHEV battery has enough charge, you'll be able to run it like an electric car for short journeys, which allows for very cheap travel. However, it's a very different story if you do lots of sustained driving at higher speeds, such as on the motorway. Once the battery in your hybrid has depleted, the car will now be working harder than a non-hybrid due to the heavy battery and electric motor it's having to carry. This is particularly true of PHEVs and impacts fuel efficiency. In fact, across all fuel types, our tests show that diesel cars are on average the most economical on the motorway. You can reduce the running costs of a plug-in hybrid by ensuring the car's battery is kept topped up. For example, by installing a home charger and choosing an energy supplier with a discounted tariff for electric car owners. However, bear in mind that public charging isn't ideal for plug-in hybrids. Not only is it more expensive, public chargers can cost up to 10 times more than a home charger, but most plug-in hybrids have relatively slow maximum charge speeds and can only use AC chargers such as home wall boxes and slower public chargers. Very few PHEVs are compatible with the rapid DC chargers you see at motorway services. This means you'll not only have to find a compatible and slower charger, but also wait several hours for a full charge.
Harry Kind was reading that piece by Dino Berardi, originally published in the August edition of The Which magazine. To read it in full and to see the results of our hybrid car tests, then be sure to become a Which member. I'll pop a link in the show notes for you to find out more. And to hear more from Harry, be sure to listen to the Which Get Answers podcast. Just search Get Answers wherever you're listening. We'll be back next week for another episode of Which Shorts, but in the meantime, why not check out Which Money Shorts on the Which Money podcast feed. Every fortnight we give you a taster of the Which Money magazine, just like we do here on Shorts with the travel, gardening, tech and regular Which mags. Just search Which Money wherever you're listening. Which Shorts was produced and edited by me, James Rowe, while the exec producer was Grace Farrell.
If you're enjoying this podcast from us here at Which, then why not become a Which member? Right now, we've got a special offer, especially for podcast listeners, meaning you can choose any of our 3 membership tiers for 50% off the usual price. Starting at just £39.50 for a full year, you can get Which magazine delivered direct to your door. For the same price, you could also choose a digital Which subscription, giving you access to all of our product reviews, the Which app, and the digital edition of Which magazine. What's more, you'll also be able to use the Ask Which service for personalised one-to-one buying advice. Or why not get a full access Which subscription for just £49.50 for a full year? Don't forget, that's 50% off the usual price. To join Which or to find out more, just head to which.co.uk/podcast offer. That's which.co.uk/podcast offer, or click the link in the description for today's podcast for 50% off a Which annual subscription.